All right, guys, welcome to the channel. I've got PelleK here to talk about his new game, DOMI Online. PelleK, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again, dude. How are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, it's been a long time since we chatted. First, last time we talked was after you released your NFT album, world's first NFT album, which I have a copy
Yeah.
of.
Yep. I also have your Explorer NFT, so we're
Right.
we're good.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It's been a long time. It's like how long is that? Like
Yeah, that was like
8 months?
March. Yeah, February or March. So let's just start off and let us know what is DOMI Online.
So DOMI Online is a blockchain play to earn 3D MMORPG underpinned by NFTs, similar to traditional MMORPGs like World of Warcraft, but all the loot in the game, all the houses, all the consumables, etc., are also represented as NFTs. The core thing behind DOMI and what makes it special is that there is no level cap and no skill cap. So you can actually become incredibly powerful. This is basically the game that I always wanted to play. It's very like old school mechanics, but with modern day user interface and graphics and combat systems, etc. But when you die, you lose a small percentage of your entire experience pool. It's a big risk to be out in the wilds and slaying monsters. You can also become incredibly powerful, which is kind of what I've always been looking for in an MMORPG. And I'm a big gamer. I've been playing games like WoW and Final Fantasy Online and stuff for so long. And I love World of Warcraft and I love MMORPGs in general. Having played them for like 20 years now, something that not always, but that grew on me over time, that just felt unfair and annoying, is that you can play like say 2,000 hours or 4,000 hours in a season, but you just end up the same level as everyone else. You end up with the same gear as everyone else who are raiding, and then you're left standing in cities, using Raid Finder and flying mounts and stuff like that. It just gets old really quick. And then at the end, when there's a new expansion, everyone's the same level again, and the gear you start with is like better than the gear you spent months farming for.
Right.
So that's what kind of annoyed me. And so like several years ago, I just started with my friends and other, Twitch streamers and YouTubers, like looking for a game that didn't hold you back, and death with major consequences, because it makes it cooler when there's something on the line, for loot especially. Yeah, you have to go and kill reapers and dragons, etc., and it can potentially be dangerous, so you have to strategize and be prepared. And in DOMI as well, mana regenerates really slowly, so you rely on auto attacks a lot or consumables to use spells and abilities. So a lot of time is spent strategizing, planning, finding the right way to get to a place. We just want it to be an exciting journey. And the world is massive, lots of islands with both connections, caves and deserts and forests and hidden zones. It's an adventure, man. We're super, super excited. It's the MMORPG that I always wanted to play, but that didn't exist. And that's how it all started.
That's so cool. When you're talking about the size, how would you compare it to like maybe the base of World of Warcraft?
I would say probably the same as World of Warcraft Classic. It's very hard to say if it's going to be bigger or smaller than that, but I would say something like around the same size. We're still in development, so it's hard to say, but I'd say about the same.
And how long have you been working on it?
Our white paper was like 250 pages. They're usually like 30 pages. And the reason why we shortened it down to like 91 pages, it's still like the longest white paper ever. And the reason is because I started working on the game design like 2 years ago, and writing down everything regarding mechanics and stuff like that. That's like 2 years-ish, might be more now because I've been saying 2 years in meetings for months now, but around 2 years. But the actual development, and this is part of what's cool about DOMI, is that in the crypto space, like 90% of projects have usually like a cinematic video or some concept art, and then they launch a project or a token, right? But we realized really early on that, because initially this was something I funded myself, like privately with money from my savings account, right? And realized that it was going to be more expensive than initially what I thought. But it just started with the idea of this game that I always wanted to play that doesn't exist. We realized that we needed a really, really big team, and so we didn't actually start a Discord server or talk to anyone about it at all. Like we didn't even talk to investors or anyone until we were like several months into development, because we realized the team we have creating this game with me and working full-time with DOMI Online are some really talented people. We have our lead game developer for DOMI comes from Jagex. He worked on RuneScape, the world's largest free MMORPG, for a long time. Our marketing department as well were like, well, it wasn't a department back then, but our marketing guys, they were like, and MMORPGs, because they've been marketing MMORPGs for a long time. and they're like, this is one of the hardest games to make. So we just want to make sure that we actually could make it before we, announce this. So when we started our Discord server a few weeks back, by the way, super cool. It's really blowing up. We have like 21,000 members there already now. So yeah, we just realized that when we got out on the market with this project and showed that, hey, actually we don't have cinematics, we have in-game footage because we have a game, we have a build. So we're still developing and it's still relatively early. We're looking at an alpha release at the end of next year, but we have a game. And I think people think that's exciting because, like I said, a lot of times in the crypto space, you see a lot of ideas, but not necessarily game builds. And especially when a game is like 3D.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that's kind of one of the biggest things that I think that is missing, and that it's, if you can do it, it really sets you apart from other projects if you've already been building, and especially if you already have gameplay footage of it. That's pretty huge. And actually it looks good, and immediately as soon as I saw the trailer I was like, oh yeah, it looks just like RuneScape. So it makes sense that you've got one of the guys that worked on RuneScape, or I mean World of Warcraft too. They both have really similar kind of graphical designs and stuff.
Some of the assets that we have in the footage that you have here, some of those assets were actually when we were starting in development, we replaced a lot of these assets in the current build because some of them were kind of placeholder. But then the way we found them, it's kind of funny story. I haven't told anyone. I thought I'd mention it. Is that we went on there's a store called like a Unity asset store where you can get some assets, right? And we went there just for placeholder stuff, and we have found some amazing stuff that looks very World of Warcraft-esque. And we were like, dude, we should hire this guy to work for DOMI full time, and like, because we found the best assets and the best guy. And so now the guy who has those placeholder graphics or some of the assets that are in that build actually is full time with DOMI now. Yeah, I'm really proud of that. Because it's like the best you can find on the market, in my opinion, for this look, of course, unless you want more photorealistic, etc. But that's not the vibe we were going for. Really want that World of Warcraft-esque look.
Yeah, that's really cool. Let's talk a little bit more about the team. How big is your team that you have now?
I think we're about somewhere between 15 and 20 people in the team. So I think we have like we have three or four 3D modelers, one concept artist guy, 5 game developers, a couple advisors from Chain Guardians, Emma and Rob, which I know you know. And then we have Harley, the COO, and we have a lot of other people as well in different positions. Like we have Estella at public relations, and there's a full team list. We also have my OG, it's just my dog, my music team that have been working with me on music for ages. So they're doing sound effects and music with me. We're 4 people on sound effects and music. So yeah, about 20 people. We are still hiring. We have a couple network engineers as well. So
if anybody who's watching wants to apply to work there, how could they get connected?
Actually, that's a good question. So let me see if that's updated yet. It's not, but it was supposed to be. So we're supposed to have like a job post on our website, domionline.io. Just waiting for that to be published really. But I mean, they can get in touch via our Discord server. That will be probably good. If there are developers who are interested in I'll just put them in touch with our lead game developer. Because we are still hiring. We kind of hired more people than we would need to be able to deliver the game at the end of the year, because we've done so much before we even went live. Like I said, all the games, you always see it when they launch, servers crash. It happens to every company, right? And so I just know that's a challenge when we release. So I would ideally love to have even one more network engineer who has a lot of experience.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit more about the kind of the servers and how the game's going to be designed. So it's on, are you on Ethereum?
No. So we're actually building on Avalanche.
Oh, cool.
And taking advantage of their subnets. They have this innovative subnet technology, making it so transactions are virtually free. So, because like when let's say you kill a dragon, right, and dragon scale armor drops, for instance, that item, from a player's perspective, it's just an item, but it's also, when that item drops, an NFT is minted. So you can trade those NFTs, those items, with other players on the DOMI Online website or secondary marketplaces if you want to. And like I said, the whole game is underpinned by NFTs. And so it would be a nightmare if like, yeah, I found an item, this is going to cost me, right? It's supposed to not cost you something. It's supposed to be a good thing. So that's why we're super, super stoked on that. And we talked to a lot of chains and we had a lot of options, but Avalanche is just amazing. We're really bullish on them and their team we worked with them for I think maybe like 2 months now. We since we started working together, and they're amazing. So yeah, it's really a game changer. Yeah, you can't have loot drop and then it costs you something.
Right. And then all these games talk about like play to earn, but then you're just, the transaction fees are, even on like BSC, the transaction fees are just eroding away your wallet on all of your earnings,
Yeah, that's one of the challenges that we faced when we were looking at this, which is why Avalanche just changed everything for us and was like a no-brainer. We're very excited about that.
So how will these servers work on, or how many different servers, or how many people can you handle in a single server?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I think it's kind of early. I mean, we're certainly gonna have PvE servers and PvP servers. I think the majority, like maybe 80% of the servers, will be PvP. And then, I mean, PvP is enabled everywhere with the exception of safe zones, like let's say a depot or, a bank, stuff like that, or your house, of course, if you own a house.
So you can like step outside your house and just get murdered.
Yeah, you can. It's not supposed, it's one of the taglines of the DOMI tagline is nothing holding you back, no one holding your hand. Because you can get incredibly powerful, incredibly strong, and you are supposed to be able to go into a city and kill everyone if you are super powerful.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a gift to power gamers in a sense.
Yeah.
You can also play it safe, and if you're not going to spend tons of time playing it, you're like more casual and you just want to play a few hours. I don't know, man. Like for me personally, you got to remember, like, this is my vision for the game. I come from a perspective of playing a lot of games and playing a lot every day. So I just think this game is going to be so cool for people who really want to put time in and be really powerful. But it wouldn't be cool if you could never lose it, right? So
right.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're on the computer, if you're sat just like having lunch or something, waiting for mana to regenerate so you can make some consumables, or so you can do a rotation at a pack of mobs, where if you're standing at a good spawn, whatever, you're safe because you can log out if you're seeing, okay, this is potentially a dangerous player killer, or you can get to safety in certain. It's not like you're always at risk of dying if you pay attention, but you can't just go AFK anywhere for a few minutes and just expect not to be killed. I think a lot
of characters not moving, so they just kill them and take some stuff.
I mean,
so if you die, can you be looted?
Yes, you can, and so you lose your backpack when you die, and you potentially lose items. There are we do have the Phoenix amulet, which negates item losses upon death, but it's very hard to get by. But yeah, you do lose experience regardless. So you don't want to die. You want to stay safe and strategize, and yeah,
have like bodyguards around you anywhere you're going.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a little bit about the mana regeneration. So you're saying that it's something that regenerates very slowly. So you said you have to be really strategic with it. I guess how long is it going to take for it to regenerate?
Mana regeneration. This is in the details are in the white paper if you want to have a look. But mana regeneration depends on the class. So you have priest, warrior, Amazon, and sorceress. And sorceresses and priests have a bit quicker mana regeneration. Also have more use for it. The priests can create consumable healing items that all classes can use. Sorceresses can create really powerful consumables that you can only the damage is determined by your magic level, and your magic level, priests and sorceresses train magic level much faster than Amazons and warriors. For a warrior, for instance, you probably use your mana much just for self-healing. You rely a lot on auto attacks, but you're tanky. Sorceresses might want to just eat food to regenerate, kill fairly simple mobs with their staff or wand, and regenerate and create these powerful consumables to go on bigger hunts later on and kill monsters that give you more experience and potentially really good loot as well.
So then it'll be a strategy to kind of just create multiple characters if you want to keep playing, and then when one needs to go regenerate mana, you'll just kind of log out of that character, log into a different one, and then play that way, I suppose.
Oh, the only way you can regenerate while you're offline is if you have a house and you're sleeping in your bed. So while you're asleep in your bed, you slowly regenerate mana, but you can't just make a level 1 character and start creating consumables. You have to get to a certain level, learn the spell, so right. There's some time and effort going into that before you can get to the point where you can create consumables that are valuable to trade with other players or use in the game.
So if you can only do it in your own bed, you're talking about within an NFT house that you own, right?
Sure, but I mean, So let's say you're online for 10 hours and play. By that time you regenerated mana, for sake of argument, let's say you regenerated your mana maybe 120 times that day. That's just, it could be like 60 or whatever, or 80, but let's say 120 then. And you go to bed in your house, and then you have full mana the day after when you log on again, if you've spent enough time offline sleeping. So it's not like, we don't want the game to be pay to win either. So it can't be too powerful. It's not like you can go to bed, log off, log on, it takes time. And what really makes you strong in the game is actually playing.
Let's talk about a little bit more about how you're going to prevent pay to win.
I realized that you can think about it as pay to win because items are NFTs and you can trade them with other players. Because items are not like, for instance, in World of Warcraft, the items are often soul bound. So like the best items. We don't have soul bound items. We do think it's an important part of the game that you can trade these items with other players. But items grant you, with some very few exceptions, with very slight mana regeneration, for instance. Items give you more armor, or your weapons grant you more damage. The damage mechanics are based on your skill. So for instance, let's say you're a warrior and you're using an axe. The damage is based on your skills with axes and also the damage on the axe. So there's no way that you can have like a level of 10 character or whatever with a really good axe, and you've just been playing for like 10 hours and you're super strong with that axe. You actually have to have a high axe skill level. In the same sense, the only way to get not regenerate, but to have a higher max health and max mana pool is by leveling up. And you get different amounts of your maximum mana or maximum health increases differently based on your character. So sorceresses get more mana per level, warriors get more life, for instance. It's not pay to win because you really have to play the character, and you have to skill up. You have to spend mana to increase your magic level, and you have to actually hit enemies with your sword or your axe or your wand to train that skill level. So you can trade those items, which we think is beautiful. It's an amazing thing because then it has really true value both inside the game and outside the game. But it's not like that's enough you can't just create a low level character, buy lots of items and be super strong. No way.
This also kind of leads me into the question from the Discord that Rex Deem sent, that basically asked, what can we do to prevent hackers from gaming the system? Because in other games, you've got cheaters in there that can hack it and kind of ruin the game for everybody. It's in crypto gaming, it's a even bigger potential problem because now people are not just suffering because the game's messed up, but they're also taking a monetary loss potentially. So it's just kind of, what can you do to kind of prevent against hackers within the game and stuff?
So NFTs kind of solve some of the problems that we see in traditional games. A big problem in games like, for instance, Diablo and a lot of those games that I love is duping items. I think we can agree that it's very hard for you to go into my contract and mint NFTs in it. So that's NFTs kind of fix a lot of those issues. But I think that the biggest challenge that we're going to see in these games are botters. And I do think that that's going to kind of take care of itself. Of course, we're going to have game masters looking for botters, and our developers will have ways to identify botters compared to normal players. But I do think that in the game where when you die, you lose items, I think that a lot of people are just going to create low-level characters to go look for botters and just kill them because they have nothing to lose. Whereas so it kind of governs itself. Where if you are level 80, for instance, or level 100, and you played 3,000 hours to get to level 100, you're not even going to take a risk on killing a level 1 because you don't want to be hunted on the server. You don't want a guild to kill you when you log on because you annoyed some guy or you killed someone's buddy, right? So I think people are going to try and definitely do that. Just make Smurfs low-level characters, give them a decent weapon, skill up a bit, and just go look for botters. That's going to be
like a lot of fun way to play the game.
Yeah, I do think that's gonna play out like that. But yeah, we'll see. You never know. I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of challenges when we do release the game, and we'll deal with them when we get there. But yeah, I'm pretty confident we can deal with it.
If somebody kills you, do you get a way of like seeing who it was, so that you could go back for revenge?
Well, yeah, of course you can see who killed you. Yeah, you'll be fighting that person, right?
Well, I just mean like
So
maybe you just get somebody sneaks up on you and kills you and you don't get to see who they are or something. I don't know.
okay, so like if they're that strong. That's a good question.
Like if
If
you
let's
could
say
have
you're
like a
looking at,
log within your character panel and just see, who got the final hit on you each time you've died or something.
so yeah, I mean, I just we were not there yet in development that we have talked about this, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be almost like a no-brainer that you have a log of your character's events,
Yeah.
like you were killed by that player, at that time, etc. Just nothing that we've talked about, but that makes a lot of sense.
So you mentioned guilds previously. How are the guilds going to work in the game?
First of all, like the houses I talked about are in like the major cities and some villages, and you can have guild houses as well, where that houses a lot of beds. And one of the ways to get these guild houses is when we introduce the DOMI staking at the start of next year. So it's going to be very valuable for people, and we have a lot of YouTubers and influencers and stuff who already kind of looked at starting guilds. So we see some Discord servers, people planning guilds and stuff for DOMI. And I think that people are gonna want to be in guilds mostly to be protected from other players, and especially in a play to earn blockchain game. I think it's going to be pretty, because we didn't get to this in the conversation yet, but one of the play to earn incentives is that at the end of each season, so like 4 times a year, the highest level players on the leaderboards and also the highest level guilds will be rewarded with DOMI tokens. So when you get towards the end of the season, those guilds might have some wars, and also like just to stay safe on the server, you don't want to be killed in DOMI. That we established that. So being part of a guild, you're protected by other players. You have access to beds in guild houses, etc. So there are a lot of benefits with guilds.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like the idea of there being guild houses. And I think that when we're with such a push towards PvP, you're going to want to be part of a guild because, like you're saying, to be protected, but then also, it's just these kind of games are just way more fun. When you're playing with people, when there's a strong social aspect to it. So, yeah, that's really cool.
For sure. And also like this isn't the metaverse. Like we're not selling land or stuff like that. The houses are a neat way for you can stand outside them and regenerate mana and create consumables and go in where if someone comes to potentially kill you, it's a safe zone for your character, because it's an MMORPG. We don't want to. We're not going to do like let's say for instance in metaverses you see a very large amount of land sales, which we're not going to do because the whole world isn't land. The whole world is a big MMORPG world. So we can only put houses in cities and villages. So there aren't going to be that many houses, which makes it more important for people to actually get accepted into guilds as well, so they can have a place to congregate, a place to run into safety. So they're not like tied to just the safe spots in the city, but in other locations as well, closer to good spawns. And yeah.
Then let's talk a little bit more about the token and the play to earn aspect. So they're just doing one token, right? Or you're doing two token system?
One, but so in game you can think of it as two, because we also have like the in-game currency. Well, there are two in-game currency. You have the DOMI token, but then you also have gold, silver, and copper, right? So a lot of the, for instance, like the vendor trash items, starter gear, for instance, aren't minted as NFTs, would just be a waste. So a lot of stuff you would sell, you would get gold, silver, copper, which is also extremely useful in the game, and you need them to buy certain consumables from NPCs, etc. But so in that sense, there are two, because you have gold, silver, copper, and you have a DOMI token.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to do it. Like I prefer when projects have one token and not two. I understand it makes sense if one of them is going to be appreciating in value, then you don't really want that to be the currency, because then people aren't going to want to spend it. So you need an in-game currency, but you don't really need that in-game currency to be a token. It doesn't, unless you're planning to fully decentralize over time, but even then you don't really need it if you had, a network of computers running the servers or something like that. So yeah, I like that you're doing that. That's the same thing that Chain Guardians, does with theirs, where they have the Chain Guardians coin.
CGC.
Yes,
CG,
yeah, exactly, yeah. And I prefer it that way. I think, is there going to be a way of exchanging your gold in game for DOMI tokens?
We haven't decided on that yet. Potentially, I'm obviously what I think people are going to do is just sell DOMI tokens for gold, and vice versa on the marketplace anyway. But if we want to facilitate that, we haven't really decided. We want to do what's best for the players, really.
So at the very least, there'll be just market-driven forces where people can just do it on their own. But you're just saying you won't have like a vending machine to do it,
right?
So then, what other uses is for the DOMI token in the game?
We outside the game, there's a lot of various DeFi and staking opportunities with the DOMI token, like titles, skins. I'm sure you're familiar with skins from like Fortnite or Counter-Strike, like having glowing eyes, stuff like that, like cool skins. Titles, like I said, guild houses. There's a lot of cool stuff to stake for. And then of course, we have the governance aspect as well, which I think is a big deal in MMORPGs, because people are going to have opinions on balancing classes, balancing spells, balancing gear, etc. So governance plays a big, an important part. And then, like I said, everything is underpinned by NFTs, houses, gear, certain consumables, and like we talked about the Phoenix amulets as one example of items that people are going to want. Everything is traded for the DOMI token on the website.
When are you going to start? Have you already started selling some of these NFTs in the houses and stuff?
No, so that's the thing. Like initially, what I said from the start is that we wanted to make the game have a build before we did anything, and then I just wouldn't feel comfortable selling any NFTs before I knew 100% they're working as intended in the game. So we're kind of doing the same thing with NFTs. Like we're not doing any INOs or selling any NFTs or anything before we can go on our test server, use those NFTs and have everything functioning. Ideally, I even want players to be able to go on a test server and immediately try out the function of the NFTs. I just want to make sure that when we do NFT sales, because even though the game is underpinned by NFTs, it's a lot from the players playing with each other, right? Looting monsters, selling NFTs to each other. So when we are gonna if we're gonna sell NFTs, we better be damn sure that they have utility from the start and they work in the game and everything. I just want to make sure we do it the right way so people are happy and everything. We're trying to make like the next best MMORPG. In a sense, we're not competing with blockchain games or crypto games at all. We're competing with traditional MMORPG space. That's why it's so important that we do everything the right way and everyone's happy.
That's awesome. I think that's a really refreshing way of looking at it, and thinking that your competitors are not other blockchain games coming out, that you are competing with, the traditional gaming space. So making sure that you do it right, I think that's a really good way to do it. Because even if you did an NFT sale right now, that you're saying, if they don't have any utility in the game, it's just going to be people just holding them. I would also think that it also just creates another thing for you to manage in the meantime that doesn't really add much value other than, building the short-term hype on it.
For sure. And the core thing here is the game, right? So if we're selling NFTs, then we need to make sure that they are valuable in game. But when the game's not released yet, then what are those NFTs doing? Not much. People are just waiting to use them. So, but I do know that it's very normal in this space to sell NFTs prior to their actually having any kind of function or value.
Long before they have use.
Yeah. I just don't want to do that. But I do also realize that for a lot of people, they want to get in early. And have the opportunity to get houses before other people. If, for instance, we have something called a champion role on our Discord server. But yeah, so I mean, like for instance, that our champions, I assume they would want to like have get dibs on some stuff, and I do know that it creates hype. So I'm not saying that we have to have the game launched before we sell NFTs, but we have to make sure that the game is at a point where the NFTs are functioning in game. And we can potentially even have players test them, just so we know everything's 100%. I don't want DOMI to end up in like a category of like, I bought an NFT, but I can't do anything with it.
Right.
That's the same as with my album. I think from buying my NFT album how much utility I provided for that album, crazy amounts. And I want to do the same with DOMI. I want our NFTs to be valuable to people.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that also it's good too, because your Discord is still new, that gives time for you to implement something. You can whitelist specific people who are active in Discord or contributing to the community, can get first dibs on it, or get whitelisted to be able to purchase these. And the same thing with guilds. You don't really want the guild houses to be bought up by whales or VCs or something, and then they just like hold on to them without using them.
Exactly, you nailed it. you're right. That's exactly the stuff that we want to avoid. So yeah, and also, I mean, there are also a few other things as well. For instance, the champions, for instance, got whitelisted for our IDOs or for the PelleK Start IDO, which is probably today for people watching this video. And some countries aren't allowed to participate in IDOs, but they can participate in INOs. So champions who couldn't participate in our IDO, they will get first dibs on INOs, for instance.
Nice. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So then for people that, they want to get involved and keep an eye on this, how do you recommend they get connected?
Like I think I mentioned at the start, our Discord server is doing really well, considering we just had the server up for like some weeks now. We have about 21,000 people on our Discord server. Probably similar on Telegram. I'm more on Discord than Telegram myself.
Yeah, I'll have all of that stuff. I'll link to all in the description. It seems like when it comes to talking about the game, I think that probably Discord's probably better. It's a little bit more organized and how you can talk about different topics and things like that. So that's what I would generally recommend people join if they're really interested in it.
I agree. Yeah, 100%.
Well, thanks, PelleK. This has been fun. I'm excited. Yeah. It's one of the few games I'm actually excited to go in and play once it goes live.
Nice, man. I'm gonna make sure you get something cool in the game for doing this interview and for being cool and supportive of me since I started getting into NFTs a long time ago. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure. Cheers, man.